Okay, super.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everybody. And to all of you. Ciao a tutti I miei amici italiani che mi stanno seguendo. Thank you, Mr. Balsam, for the invitation, and Dental Lab for working so hard to create culture and training. And I must say that I have a big emotion now because today really we watch such a incredible and great people, good technician, amazing presentation. So I hope to be at the level. So, okay. I present myself. I'm Lorena dalla Riva, and I'm speaking to you from home in Vicenza. That is a small city, but very rich of architecture. And we are near to the most famous Venice in Italy. I'm a dental technician, and the math that I prefer in dentistry is aesthetics. So about me, I'm a dental technical consultant for ceramic department in Noble Metal. Noble Metal is an Italian company. In my case, I'm a consultant for Diva and Glam ceramics. Diva is a PFM ceramic, and Glam is for metal-free like zirconia and lithium disilicate as well. But Noble Metal is a big company in Italy, and they provide many others like materials, solutions, machine services, so everything dental laboratories needs. And I have got an international certificate as an official AFG training coach. AFG means anatomical functional geometry, as already Balsam said. And AFG is a dental modeling technique that has broadened, and it's horizontal to the design and the communication of the shape based on the discovery of objective numerical codes and geometric repetitiveness. So that are typical of the human dental shape. This is a work that Alberto Battistelli did for 20 years. He with other two dentists. And about this, he wrote this book, AFG Modeling. And so we can say that so it's a way to find anatomical form and proportion. So let's say is how to do a tailor-made teeth. That is important. Better is to read this book by Alberto Battistelli for go deeper on this. And this book is, which is translated in 13 languages. The one was in Chinese, and they made this amazing movie to present this book. But the focus of today is ID technique, meet AFG method for pressed veneer. ID technique, ID means incisor edge design that say, let's save the tooth contour. It's a technique dedicated to making lithium disilicate crown and veneers. This type of reduction is already done by zirconia, but I dedicated to the disilicate. That is the material that I use the most. And to explain what incisor design means, I'm going to show you this case. So we see together the steps to understand the reason why I named this technique. So the initial case, the patient needed to have crowns to replace, the 4 incisors. Modification of spaces, proportion, only slightly increased strength, and increase overjet, as you can see on diagnostic workup. And only we make waxing, but I wasn't really sure that the patient wants to accept, because at the beginning she wasn't sure to remake these teeth. And so I make just a normal silicone mask, but with the mask, the patient prepares sort of mock-up from my diagnostic workshop, and the patient accepts. So we went on with the provisional. The doctor request is to keep the copy-paste type, the functionalized palatal and incisor area for dysfunctional problems of the patient. And even if this concept is can be applied to all the patient, of course, where they found comfort with a prototype reconstruction the month is the right way to duplicate it. And we see here the preparation. It's a vertical preparation, so there is different thickness between the 4 crowns in order to preserve the dental material as much as possible. And with this palatal mask, I want to replicate what already exists. So it means the prototype, the provisional, that was functionalized. Of course, this we can do in a wax, in my case, analogical, but how the other author said before, they can use a CAD/CAM system. So in this case, wax up the crowns, and I have faithfully replicated the palatal area, drawing the incisor margin, and most importantly, the contact area. For me now, it's no sense to reduce everything, to stratify completely. So I reduce the vestibular face as a ID protocol, and the cervical area, I maintain the cervical area with the ideal thickness, because on a vertical preparation, let's say CBOPT technique. And you know, we are working with lithium disilicate. The lithium silicate ask for chamfer preparation. In this case, with the vertical preparation, we must give more, must be stronger. So, so we keep all the incisor, outline, major, distal, and the wall edge of almost 2 millimeters in closing in this silicate strata. And the rest we can layering. So to compensate the different thickness, at this point I prepare the shape of the strata so as to have the same space of layering. I transform everything into lithium disilicate. We all know that the lithium disilicate is also polishable, so I stratificate, I layering only vestibular, and the other I can just polish it or glaze. And you can see here the first layering here. I don't have enough space, and I put some color, some stains. And at this point, I have to focus only on microstratification. It's a minimal layering, but with targeted masses of effect, like in this case with dentin A1, a Florence cervical row, a Sienna, and 2 opal, and beautiful enamel pearl, one who gives luminosity at the library. So I'm sorry, but I have all the strange view on my PC. I can see on the left-hand side of my screen, but doesn't matter. So here you can see these masses that I use on this layering. So 2 opal, 1 enamel, 1 dentin, and just a fluorescent cervical mass, raw sienna. So now we see our finished crown, and this is the first break, first firing. Here we have opal medusa, how it is took by the photo, and the finished work. We have the closing margin and the wall contour in lithium disilicate as per ID techniques. And before the final firing, but I have checked the dimension, the proportion. I use a golden sector as well, like as I use the caliber 2. And so I check the shape, but we can see that the proportion is, we have the proportion, and as well with the check numerical proportion as AFG suggests. But in these topics, AFG, we go deeper later. So we finish our crown with this technique. During the layering, we do not have to worry about losing the contact points or the incise or edge at the end of the fire. I had this, so I must say that I pressed from, I don't know, maybe 20 years when the first pressed ceramic came. And I have got some problem during the firing because I lost dimension during the firing. Sometime I had to add one more firing. So that was something that made me nervous. That's why I decided to apply this technique. I find out by myself this technique, ID technique. So I can do as much fire as I want because the understructure that is in lithium disilicate, the wall contour remains stable. So, and everything I have already has been established and confirmed before by waxing or in a CAD, but any case during the design phase. Of course, clearly the technique, we replicate the palatal copy paste type like we did like in the prototype. So clearly in the with this technique is very valid even with a big, very big case, but with apparently easy case, a simple case. We all know that when we have just one crown, it's not so easy. It's difficult to put inside the mouth. So in this case, I maintain the contact area, and I devote myself in this case to a microstratification for this tooth. This case came with impression and this photo with the shade guide. I made it and delivery. I must say that nowadays, most of all of my client dentists send me pictures. We work a lot with the picture, with the shade guide. And it's a really rarely that I can see the patient. Now we go straight to the topic. The topic is pressed veneer. I show you before with the crown because in this case I could explain better ID technique, how it works. So I want to illustrate the smile that we give back. We haven't given back to this gentleman who had fairly healthy teeth, only abrased, and obviously he had an increase in the vertical dimension calculated for his well-being. At this point, I show you the final case. In this final case, all the mouth is already done. So he has already been rehabilitated inferiorly and in the rear upper quadrant. But now we focus only on the frontal group. Therefore, minimal preparation with a palatal support as there is to recreate the entire incisor contour where the teeth were abrased. So we have here minimal invasive prepare vestibularly. Of course, we have a lot of space inside. So here you see vestibularly how I works up everything, of course, and how the reduction of the wax will be to give the space to stratification that will be slightly thicker on the incisor, where I take out as much wax as I can, so there I can stratify much better, but very minimal on the tooth body. So wax the palatal area and the marginal design, and there will no longer be modified. That remain as I did. I transform the waxing into lithium disilicate, and of course for CAD/CAM lovers can be mild. And now I can concentrate on the layering. The contour of the tooth will be stable. The color reinforced by the structure, and the incisor edge can be integrated with the layering here and there, or for aesthetic effect, and can have small improvements, but everything remain stable. So let's start our layering. I use this ceramic glam that I love it. I find it beautiful because it's very compact and lively. And here we have a dentin, some enamel, and we use translucency. In Italia, we call it grigio complesso by Baby Spina. And my colleague Rosti spoke about complex gray. The right name is luminous gray, but this is a powder. This is translucent. This is a masses that we use in this case. And luminous gray means that it's not opaque, because there is no white and black together, but it came from three primary colors, as by Baby Spina says. So And we use this translucent luminous gray, opal, tropical, and it is played with a contrast, which are, as Johannes Itten said, the basis of a vibrant result. You must read that book. Johannes Itten is a wonderful book explaining everything about color, contrast, and the base of my certification, our layering of certification is must be vibrant. Are the contrast. We must play with the contrast. So that is Opal Tropical shade guide. And then we go on. Let's continue our certification with Mamelon, Masse, and pearl enamel. Pearl, that is an enamel that gives luminosity. And that I love. I love that enamel. And at this point, we can decide. We put on all this material. We can decide if to do intermediate firing to check the result of certification and to go on with the right masses, or we could go straight to the end. But we also check the contact area, the contact point, but we see that they have not changed. So after having controlled the result, we can complete the certification with the masses that seems most suitable. In this case, I use enamel with a 50% transparent. That is the pink one. That is not dentin, but is this masses. I use some drop of colored water, and pearl one, and opal tropical, and opal medusa. Well, so we layered with glam, and following my IG technique, and this was a result. So you can see that all the color, gray, luminous gray, opal medusa, that is that seems like to be a little bit violet, blue violet. They are under the finest layering. I must say that nowadays people doesn't want to see any gray on incisor. They don't want. They all want very normative, not too many effect, evident effect. All the effect must stay under. So we go on with another case. I'm going to show you how I use press veneer, because this is the topics that Mr. Bassen asked me. So this is a young lady who does not accept the current situation of this crossed and slightly crossed teeth and slightly discolored teeth. And in this case, the marriage between the two ID and AFG techniques are perfect for the solution of this aesthetic realization. The images that I received by the dentist, that I say thank you, Giorgio Damorin, for the picture. The technique that he used is to make the least invasive preparation possible using the mock-up. So, and he, of course, he prepare more the tooth 1.1 because it was the crossed tooth. So we made the measurement of the elements that we notice there is an imbalance on incisor, and that is one who the dentist prepare more. So please notice this number, 8.3. that is the distance, that is the measure of one incisor, but is the distance between the cusp canine and the premolar cusp. This distance is the second key in AFG method. And we go on with this scheme. This scheme is help us to find the right proportion between upper and lower teeth and between the teeth in the frontal situation. So you can see that here we have an example of the code, because in AFG we are speaking about tailor-made teeth. So we have small, medium, and large. In this case, we are speaking about medium shape. That is 8.5. Normally, teeth are from 8 to 9. Of course, in any month you can change this parameter. You use this parameter, but you change the first key and the second key. And you can see here how we can move from one tooth to the other with a measure. So from the central to the lateral, we have 2 millimeter less minimums, and from the central to the canines, where is smaller than 1 millimeter. And the same we have from the lower jaw. Sometimes some word in English escape. Okay, so as per AFG protocol, so we take as a reference the measure of the lower central unit, which is will be the first key, 5.3. So is the key to decipher the correct measurements of the upper frontal group. The proportion between the upper incisor will be obtained from the calculation of the first key. So it means 5.3 in this case, plus 3 millimeter to get the measure of the upper incisor. And using the scheme that I showed before, we get all the measure of the lateral and the canines and so on. Of course, for in deep studies of the technique, I refer you to the books or courses. And another measure that I want you notice is on premolar. You can see that the same number, 5.3, from the lower incisor comes as a distance between the two cusps. We go on with and we made our workshop. So we have here another scheme to understand how could be the proportion between the cusps. Here we can have that we have the distance, the second key, that is the distance between the canine to the first cusps in premolar cusp, that is return 8.5. And then we have the measure to the proportion to the molars, anterior right to the molars. It helps a lot when we have to make a big construction, when we lose ourselves and we don't know where to put our teeth, how to move the situation that month. The same things. This scheme we can use for workshopping WhatsApp or as well as with the CAD-CAM. Okay, at this point, we have prepared the shape respecting the FG code and the measurement to obtain proportion. And so we save all this work that we made with the FG code by applying ID technique. And therefore, contact areas are blocked dimension. And then we go on. And so the marriage between is AFG and incisor design is done. Now remain to turn it in on lithium disilicate. And then we can focus on layering. Here we have dentin A1, dentin A2, because you saw the patient before, she has got cane eyes with more chroma, and but we use a little bit of dentin, white dentin, and A1 in contrast to give more effect to our layering. And again, we have my luminous gray, but in this case with a little bit of transparent blue that we put in just in the margin. I don't want to obtain much transparent, just a little bit atmosphere absorbing area on this incisor side. And what I suggest you is please make a layering scheme. I did always, I learned to do always, because we work a lot on the techniques, but often we introduce changes by the based on the emotional state of the moment, and this step for sure that we forget them. In case we have to remake one crown, better not, but it happened. In case we have to add some crown the same month, so this scheme we have to, I suggest you to do a scheme, your own scheme every time. So the first firing ended, and we go on with the second fire, always willing to conclude my layering concept. So at this point, I draw the paths to control shapes and area to be modified. I see that there are areas that must be modified with the bar, and this I evaluate the movement of the vestibular shape by adding other parts following AFG protocol, and I do never intervene on an area around the drawing, but possibly just only small in size or chains. Of course, if we weren't not so precise on our modeling, on our waxing up, we need to change a little bit. But with our line, we can decide, we can measure, and we can decide to be sure to do the good work. And then to a further check, I see that I have the measure that allow me to respect the AFG numerical proportion. Until the end, I'm often check if I really did a good work. And then here we are, our finished work with our veneer down there. So AD technique and the FG are a great help, both in a small rehabilitation and obviously in larger cases. The important things for me is to be able to go fast, but not in a hurry, with sure steps that don't waste us time. This is my mantra. We are in a hurry all day, but if we start with well done work, after this we go fast, but never in a hurry. So the patient smile, as it was before, the lateral view, and then an enlarged smile. Thank you, Giorgio Dasmolin, for the photos. And so the veneer on the mouth. Okay, now I want to show another way to use the pressed veneer. Where you see the arrow, there are two implants. I walks up for a crown. After this, the doctor decided to prepare the canines too. So the project here is to veneer on yak, integrate abutment crown, and 4 veneers on natural teeth. The integrated abutment crown are crowns that are built up directly on the metal, on the abutment. Now we will see how it was. So we prepare, or you can prepare the 2 abutment, an ideal shape. We works up all, because we have to know how it will be the final result. The 2 crown on implant must be works up completely to decide how to prepare the implant. That must be covered completely in composite, and we can do a index here and use it for the next step. So we build up the 2 lateral crown in a composite. We start, of course, with the opaque, and we help ourselves with the index. We build up in composite the lateral. We reduce the 2 lateral as the other teeth, as the doctor did before. And then we go on waxing all the 6 veneers. And we are ready to press the veneer and transform all in lithium disilicate. In this case, we use MTN1. It's very thin reduced because we really don't have any space in here. And some layering with the stains, just a little bit of dentin and enamel. And we go on with the layering, and at the end, the result. Okay, this is not the case. I took this case to show you because it's an idea to explain how we start with this technique. I don't really like too much the result, but the technique is interesting. And this is how it was this girl before, and her smile. So difficult to obtain. She never smiled. I hope that now she, step by step, she starts to smile more. Thank you, Berto Mutas, for the photos. So following this kind of way of using pressed veneer, I want to show you this patient. She arrived at the dental offices in this situation, and she asks for a better smile, of course. She spent she spent a long time with the orthodontist and surgery for trying to resolve her situation. You can see here where the middle line is here, and it was. So the impression arrived to me, and we prepare, as the doctor asked, the peanut butter in composite. And so we have 2 peanut butter composite, 2 natural teeth prepare to crown, natural tooth, and reduce, and two ID, excuse me, integrate abutment crown. Okay, so we worked up everything, and you can see that how it was the situation, and we worked up the 2 veneer 2, and then we reduce everything as ID technique suggests. So at this point, I don't care if I have crown or veneer. I work in the same time and the same situation. So the pressed veneer and crowns. So again, we have veneer on integrated abutment crown, plus crown on composite peanut abutment, crown on natural teeth, and then this was the result for these ladies. And just cemented. I would like to have one more photos later. And the happiest patient. You can see how changed the middle line. It was quite difficult, I must say, but happy for the result. And we are nearly at the end. This is another way for this patient who he has nice teeth. Why he wants to change something, but you know how they are. He wanted white teeth, all in the same line, no gray, no yellow, and so the doctor prepared the very thin veneers, and the patient wanted the buccal area larger too. So we did the transform everything in macrolayer veneer, and this it was on Emax with the glam ceramic. I have here a palatal view, and the result of this ceramic is very compact. I must say that I love the ceramic, and this is self-glaze. I prefer to use Florence flow glaze when I don't like it at all. So for the lower, we have this veneer, very thin, so only pressed and stained. And we did no prep on posteriors, and we go on with to remake all the mouth. So this is the end. How the gums reactive is always beautiful. The lower veneer were really integrated. So I must say that I love this two material. So at this point, I explain on my way to use pressed veneer. If you want anything more from me, please ask. And I must say thank you again to all the previous authors, and thank you, Bazen. So now I'm going to interrupt my.
Thank you very much, Lorena.